we're going to be covering using typography within an image, similar to what you see here, where you're going to be drawing out the lettering or typing out the lettering and then warping it to fit with inside of an area. For our project, we're going to be picking animals this year, so I want you to go online and find the face of a particular animal. In this case, I'm going to be using a giraffe as my example. When you do go to images, whether you're using Google or Yahoo, please go to Tools, Size, and Large. It does not matter if your image has a background to it or not. I'm going to just pick this one, I guess, and that's totally fine. I'll use this one as my example. And then what I want you to do is take that image and drag it into your folder. So open up graphics, go into your folder and drag that file into there. So for example, if you were here, you'd go into your folder, and then from there, you'd right click inside your folder, as you can see here, create a new folder, put your name, and then project 3, and then take that file, drag and drop into that folder like you've done for some other projects so far. In addition to that, what you want to do is you want to make a new tab, and you want to look up some facts about your animal that you've picked, and just have that up in the background. How we're going to start is we're going to go to Photoshop. When you get to Photoshop, go to File, New here, or at the top you can go to File and New. Once we are there, we are going to click on tabloid size. If you don't see it, you can always go to the word print at the top corner and then select tabloid, which is 11 by 17 inches at 300 ppi. You can see here 11, 17, 300 RGB and white, and that's going to give you a white background. We're going to hit create. So we have this new file that's up here. I'm going to go to Window, and I put the application frame back on so it's a little bit more consistent with what you know, and go to Window, Workspace, and Reset Essentials. Okay, so here we have Photoshop with our new white page. What we want to do is make sure that we go from your folder, or you can go directly from online and take this file that you found, the face of your animal, and drag the big version here directly onto your page. Once it's on here, you can see in your layers panel that it is the top layer. You can double click it and give it a name if you want. You can call it animal face or be specific. It's totally up to you. You can start to name your layers. Then we want to make this larger. So we're going to go to Edit and Free Transform, or Command T or Windows key and T on your keyboard. You'll see that box around it. Just make sure that your width and your height are checked, which most of yours are here in the class. And you're going to click and drag out to resize this. If you have any problems with this, you let me know. You can move it like this. I'm going to put the neck at the bottom, make it just a little bit larger. Right about there looks good. And then I'm going to hit the checkbox up top or hit return on my keyboard. Now once I've done that, what I'm going to do is bring down the opacity of that layer. So I'm going to click on that animal face layer here, go to opacity, bring the opacity down quite a bit, at least about 50%, maybe 45 or so, somewhere in that range. All right, from there you're going to lock that layer down. So we're going to click that little lock button. We are then going to add a new layer by clicking the new layer button here at the bottom of the layers panel. Click that one time. You'll get a brand new layer that stacks right on top. You're going to double click it. And then what you're going to do here is we're going to call this the stencil. So before we add any letters or typography to this, we have to create a stencil first. And then our letters will fit inside the stencil. So I'm going to hit return on that. So we got that stencil layer. And then what I want to do is I want to start drawing out my stencil. So this is basically part one of the project, drawing out your stencil. So you're going to take your lasso tool. You can use your regular lasso tool, or you could use your polygonal lasso tool for this. It really doesn't make a difference which one you use. I'm going to use the regular lasso tool. And up across the top, you're going to choose the second option. The second option here with the two boxes is called the Add To selection, so make sure you have that selected. The only other thing you have to do is up at the top is make sure that the feathering is at 0. Okay, once it's at 0, what you're going to do is you're going to go over to your image and you're going to start to draw. Now, what you're trying to achieve here before you start drawing, just so you know, is that you're looking to create something that looks like this. So eventually we will create a black and white version of things. So give this as, I guess, the example, okay? Or something even smoother. So here's an animal. Okay, so very similar to this effect. You're not getting a ton of detail. There's varieties, like this has just a very simplified version, which would be great for this project. This one has quite a bit more detail, but you can draw it any which way that you like. Instead of taking one that's already online, we're drawing our own because we want to have it completely original, no copyright problems, and you can say that you created it and there's no one just like it out there on the internet, okay? So what you're going to do here is you're going to zoom in, and one thing we want to try to do to this is smooth things out as we draw. So I'm going to do one extra step before I start drawing, and that is I'm going to go to the animal face layer for one moment, click on it, unlock it, and then on that layer I'm going to blur out the original and smooth it out. To do that, I'm going to go to filter at the top, down to blur, over to Gaussian blur. When this pops up, you notice my whole background has just blurred, right? Because this radius here at the bottom is set to 15. We can back that up a little bit, maybe to about a 6 or so, or maybe a 5. Okay. You notice it has blurred it, but you can still tell some detail in the background. So we'll hit OK. So we just blurred the background layer. Okay, good, nice. Now what we want to do after we blur it is we want to now just lock it again. Okay, so it kind of smooths things out. There's not quite as much detail, you see? But we're going to jump to stencil layer now. Jump to stencil layer now, and on that layer what we're going to do is take that lasso tool like we said, with that setting, with 0 feathering, and we're going to begin to draw out where we want the black to go, just like those stencils that we looked at. So we're going to draw it out. And you can kind of draw it any way you want. You can follow the detail really well, or you don't have to do all of it. And then you're going to completely just sort of draw where you think the black should go. You only really have to worry about the black areas. So you're going to continue to draw, And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop this video, finish this up, and then I'm going to come back and you'll see it a little bit further along where it's like all the black is done. But once you have this and these selections, you're going to take your paint bucket, choose black as your color, and you're going to fill these pieces with black. So I'm going to continue now. This is part 1 of the video, and I'll make part 2 later, so you'll have both parts. Part 2 will show you how to add the text into these areas once the stencil is done.